Navy Matters.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Rich Acritelli, and on today's episode of The Fog of War and Humanity here on HMTV, my special guest is Vietnam veteran Frank D'Aversa. Will join me for a conversation about his many decades of military experience to always help out our veterans and to always ensure that our veterans are properly remembered. Frank, here we go. Where did you grow up as a kid, and what were your interests?
I grew up in College Point, Queens, right by the Whitestone Bridge. Swam in the East River, and there's nothing wrong with me.
So what were some of the things that you liked to do?
Fishing.
A lot of fishing?
Oh, yes, a lot of fishing.
So what would you catch up there?
Flounders and striped bass, horseshoe crabs. It was great.
And did you bring that stuff home and cook everything and clean?
I gave it to my mom, and she said, "Where did you get the flounder with one eye?"
Okay.
You know.
Who was that, the Seven Fishes, being Italian, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
You kind of help out the family with that,
No
right?
doubt, no doubt. It was all good, though, you know. And I used to dig my own bait,
Wow.
sandworms, and yeah, it was great.
So College Point, you're kind of in the city, right?
Yes.
But it's kind of residential, right?
Yes.
You have the water up there. Now, was that before, would that be the Whitestone Bridge, right? Or did you see the Whitestone Bridge being built? Or
No,
was that
it was
right
there.
At that time?
It was before the Throgs Neck Bridge.
Before the
though.
Throgs Neck,
Yes.
okay. So, and it's probably before Shea Stadium, right?
Yes.
You saw the Dodgers and everything. Now, when you were growing up, were you a baseball fan?
I played ball.
You played ball?
Yeah.
What position did you play?
I was a catcher
Okay,
and a center fielder.
okay.
And
So you were one of the smartest guys on the ball field then?
I had a good arm.
You had a good arm, right? And you had an idea of what was going
Yes, yeah, it
what
was
going
fun.
on.
It was
Okay.
great. And truthfully, I coached. Our coach left our team. He had other things to do. I was 12 years old, and I was coaching my little league team.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it was fun.
It's a good thing, right?
Great experience.
So now, what did your mom and dad do?
My dad was during World War II. He was a welder in Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Wow. Okay.
And after the war ended, he took the test for the Department of Sanitation, and he became a sanitation man.
Wow. So always tied to the city? Right?
Always, yes.
Okay.
My father was actually born in Harlem.
Okay. And then they moved out a little bit?
They moved out to College Point.
Simpler time, right? A simpler.
Yeah, much easier. Harlem, even today, I think there's a large Italian population.
Okay. And then what did mom do? Did she take care of the household?
Yeah, housekeeping. But my mom died when I was 12.
Okay.
I had a sister 4, a sister 7. I was 12. My other sister 14. God bless Grandma. Moved in with us and raised us.
Kept an eye on you guys? And,
Yes.
I mean, your dad decided to get up and go to work every day and put
2
food on the table.
full-time jobs. 2 full-time jobs.
God bless
yes.
him. So, and you grew up too, right? You lose your mom at a very early age.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
you know, it's a tough spot.
Well, I had a good family, and a lot of us lived close by. So after my mom died, my aunt and uncle took me in for 5 months, and my Aunt Rose, my father's sister, took my 3 sisters. They lived in Whitestone, Queens.
And then they end up moving in with you.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And once my father squared away the house, we moved back in, and I didn't leave the house until I was 18.
Okay. Now, when you were in high school, did you continue to keep playing baseball?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, interesting story. I went to a Catholic elementary school.
Okay.
I tried for the Catholic high schools. I didn't do well. My 8th grade nun said, "Francis, Aviation High School is taking a test." I had no interest in airplanes, but to honor her request, I took the test and I passed.
And that was one of the better schools in the city too, right?
Yeah, it still is. And from that point is where I started my 50-plus year career in aviation, thanks to that one nun.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you don't like to let the nuns down, right? Because
no.
They're tough. They can be very nice, but very tough
Yes,
as well.
but
right?
they were great. They never got the credit they deserved.
Sure.
You know?
And she probably knew you were in a tough spot, right?
No doubt. No
Paul's
doubt.
working a lot of hours. You have family members helping you out. You're the oldest one. And
I had a sister 14.
So 14.
Yeah,
So
I was 12.
okay. So now, what year did you graduate from high school?
1961.
1961. So you're in the height of the Cold War. You have a new president. You have Eisenhower, who looked like a grandfatherly figure. And now you have a young guy in JFK come in. Kennedy kind of makes it known that we're not looking for any more wars, but we're not going to kind of back down, and we're going to support freedom and democracy and capitalism and so on. Do you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I joined the Navy right out of high school, naval aviation. I had a background from high school.
Sure, yeah.
And I went to A school to become a structural repair mechanic.
Okay.
In
So you graduated high school in 61.
Yes.
Cuban Missile Crisis 62. Do you join the military after leaving high school?
In 61.
Wow.
Yes. And I was, after I graduated from tech school in the Navy, I requested a reconnaissance heavy attack squadron. Why? I like the name. It sounded cool.
Yeah, pretty neat. Right?
And then I wanted to sail on an aircraft carrier, make a med cruise and a Caribbean cruise at that time. And they gave me everything I wanted, so it was good. But the funny thing is, I came out number one in tech school, and when I reported to my squadron...
So you were an honor graduate in your tech school?
Yes, but I went up to my E7, and he was chief petty officer. I go, Chief, you lucked out. My name's Frank D'Aversa, and I'm in your squadron now. He goes, good, Frank. You're going mess cooking on the Forrestal for a month.
Right.
And after that, you're going to the ship's laundry for 3 months. So, yes, sir, no problem. And then I realized I had to make E4 to get out of those details. Because Navy had sailors providing food and laundry while you're out at sea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not exactly the greatest spots to be in, right?
But you know what?
You learned, though.
It was a job.
Yeah?
Yes.
Now, you were on the Forrestal. They had the fire, right? Was that during the Vietnam War?
They did have a fire. I made a Mediterranean cruise on Forrestal.
Okay.
And 7-month cruise out of Norfolk, Virginia. My squadron would deploy on a ship.
Was that before or during the Cuban Missile Crisis?
It was during.
Wow.
And what actually happened, we went to the Mediterranean. We were in Genoa, Italy, and the skipper, the commanding officer of the ship, noticed that during the Cuban crisis, there were a number of Russian tankers trying to block us in the event we had to get out of there real quick. Sure. So the skipper pulled up anchor, and we pulled out to sea, leaving a quarter of the crew in Genoa, Italy, in a drill hall, because he felt we had to get out of there before we were trapped in.
They were in a dangerous spot.
Dangerous spot.
And the Russians knew exactly what they were doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, you must have some chest of like the ribbons in terms of your uniform, because
yes and no.
But you think like in terms of major actions like the Cuban Missile Crisis you were in, and then the start of Vietnam, the Cold War itself, you know, and the Mediterranean cruises. Like for you being an Italian kid from New York City, to be able to go into the Mediterranean and go to Italy. Yes. But you still had a job to do in terms of the Cold War.
No doubt.
You know, you have Russian tankers that are shadowing you guys and pretty much following you around.
Yes.
Right? And,
no doubt.
And the aircraft carriers are floating cities. So
and they had Russian aircraft, Russian Bears. While we were out at sea, they would fly over us, and we would launch 2 F-4 Phantoms just to
keep an
escort
eye on
them.
Yeah. Is that the bombers, the Bears?
Yes,
there?
the bombers, yes.
Wow. So now you're at sea. What do you remember of the Cuban Missile Crisis from where you were? Were you in the Mediterranean at the time?
At the time, yes. So, we weren't really in harm's way.
Yeah.
But if they needed us, we were ready to sail.
Wow.
Yes.
And did you know anything that was like really going on? I mean, you knew it was a heightened situation.
Yes.
Were your senior officers, were they forthcoming with like any information or?
Yes, they were, just to make us aware of what could happen if we had to sail down to Cuba.
Yeah. Keep you guys sharp, right?
Keep us sharp.
Attention to detail, right?
Always training. Yeah, nighttime, daytime, with flight ops.
And especially you're younger, let's say you're 18, 19 years old at this time. You have officers that were in World War II and
Yes.
Korea, and, it was no joke that right away they remember,
Yes.
that the training's important, that it's going to save lives and everything.
As a matter of fact, my division chief, Chief Shock, I loved him like a father. He was in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Wow.
With me,
Amazing.
in Vietnam. What a great man. Unfortunately, his son was killed in Vietnam in the Marine Corps.
Something, you never know.
You never know.
You don't know. And,
No.
so now you're there. When do you realize, like, all right, everything, well, what were your feelings after Kennedy and Khrushchev finally realized we do have to talk with each other and we have to put this to bed now? We've gone too far.
Yes, well, we felt good about that naturally because none of us want any kind of war,
Sure.
but we understood why we were there.
Yeah. And you have your whole life ahead of you and everything.
Yes, yes.
So now, after the Cuban Missile Crisis, do you stay in the Mediterranean? Is that where your carrier was based out of?
No, it was based out of Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
But my squadron, I was in a recon heavy attack squadron. We had A3Ds at the time, like a B-66 Air Force version. And so it was a large carrier. We had 12 of them in my squadron, And we were stationed out of Sanford Naval Air Station in Florida.
Wow.
Yeah. Now Sanford is a international airport.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, how long do you stay there for?
Well, we were training. We were getting new aircraft, the Vigilante, the RA-5C, very fast aircraft, very high-tech aircraft. So we had to go to school on that aircraft.
So now, were you maintenance for that aircraft?
Yes, I was.
So what were like some of the things that, in terms of maintenance, that you would do?
Well, I was up on the flight deck, which is very, very dangerous, especially at night.
How did you do at sea? Did you like being at sea? It never bothered you?
I grew up in Queens.
Yeah.
No, it never bothered
Never
me.
bothered. So you were
know
the right
what?
guy for the job then.
I loved it because when I was on the Forrestal in Med, there was nothing more beautiful than seeing the sunrise and the moon set at the same time, and dolphins jumping up and down in the water. It was beautiful. I love being out at sea.
What was the stability like being on an aircraft carrier?
Well, it was very stable. You know,
it's such a huge
yes,
vessel, right?
But with the destroyers that escorted us, they were rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
You know. But it was, I love being out at sea.
The aircraft carriers are just
humongous,
immense. So,
yeah.
Like you just recently saw now, and I'm sure you were keeping an eye on it with Iran and Israel.
Oh, yes.
That we were reshifting some of our naval power
Yes.
into the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf,
Yes.
Arabian Gulf, right?
Yeah.
They see those aircraft carriers coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
It's
like the bully on the block. All of a sudden, it's going up against somebody that knows a little karate,
No
boxing,
doubt.
wrestling, judo, all combined, right?
It's a wake-up call.
It's a
for
wake-up
sure.
call, right?
Yes.
And that wake-up call has USA written all over it.
Oh, yes.
Right? So,
yeah. And, you have 5,000 men today, men and women,
Sure.
on board, and 80 aircraft.
And very well trained and
Yes,
equipped.
yes, very safe because we train and train and train.
And you're motivated because you want to be there.
Yes.
You want to be on those ships that are
No
going
doubt.
around the world. So,
Yes.
so now you're down in Florida. Where do you go after that?
Well, what we did, we had to deploy up out of Norfolk. For example, I went on board the Saratoga, Heavy Attack Squadron 3. I was in Heavy 5. They requested me, believe it or not, to go out on a carrier qualification with them.
And that was a carrier also? Was
Yes,
it Saratoga?
yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, it was CVA 62.
And compared to the Forrestal, was it the same size? Was it bigger?
Yes, it was a
smaller?
Forrestal class.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's a big,
Yes.
big ship, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I joined the Navy.
yeah, sure. That's part of the job, right?
Part of the job.
Okay, so now, what were some of your responsibilities on the Saratoga itself?
On the Sarah, I was final checker for the squadron on the catapults.
Okay.
Checking, make sure everything's good with the aircraft. And then I would salute the catapult officer, let him know we're good to go.
And now, what does that mean? You salute the officer, and then what does that discharge? Is the aircraft?
Yeah, my responsibility to that aircraft.
Wow.
And then the catapult officer, they're sharp. Those guys are pilots themselves. And they're catapult officers, and you'll see them up on the deck with yellow shirts on. And the pilot is watching the catapult officer at all times, because once the catapult officer salutes the captain of the aircraft and he knows it's good to go, then the pilot will salute the catapult officer, and there they go.
So when
And
Top
launch.
Gun comes out in like
love that
1986, right? You know what all those guys are doing, every one of them, right?
love it.
The different color shirts
Yes,
and the
yes.
headgear on.
Yeah, everybody. It's amazing, the responsibility.
Right? With the signs, it's like baseball, right? I'm giving you the signs, but they're
Yes,
giving each other
hand
the signs
signals,
for
hand signals.
the hand
Yes.
signals.
Interesting. Jumping ahead a little bit, I was a chief warrant officer, and I was on the Kennedy. And
that's another carrier, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
love that ship too, named after a great man
Yeah.
too. So here I am with the other chief warrant officers, the regular Navy guys, and they thought, this guy's only reserve. So I go up to flight deck control, the island.
Yeah, you don't realize you have a wealth of knowledge and experience.
So he's breaking my chops a little bit, and one of my men in E5 comes in, Mr. D. I love working up here. So I go to the chief warrant officer, the regular Navy guy. He goes, by the way, that guy is a mailman on the outside. He's directing your aircraft as we speak. He shut up. That was the end of chop breaking.
Yeah, sure. So,
Yeah.
But that's the military.
Yes.
Part of it is
Yeah.
keeping things light and
No doubt.
having a little fun,
No
as
doubt.
you're doing some dangerous things.
There you go.
So
Yes.
you're away from home and
Yes.
everything else. So now, where do you go after the Saratoga?
Okay. We went through training on the Vigilante, brand new aircraft, and Vietnam broke out.
It's kicking up.
It's
right?
kicking up. So my squadron deployed on the USS Ranger out of Alameda, California. And we went over to Vietnam.
And that's another carrier?
Yes,
Wow.
another carrier, CVA 61. The Sarah was 60.
Now, is that the same class, Forrestal class?
Yes. it
So
was.
same size, roughly the
Yes.
same type of ship?
Yes, and we flew combat missions. We spent months at sea.
So you go from California and you're going to Southeast Asia, right?
Yes, correct.
Do you go to Hawaii, stop there?
Yes, we stopped there on the way over, and we stopped in the Philippines also.
All right, so do you go across
Yeah.
the Pacific
Yes.
and you go to the Philippines, right? With
Yes.
Subic or Clark?
Subic.
Subic, okay.
Subic and Clark Air Force bases in the Philippines, as you know. And interesting. I never drank in my life, never,
Yeah.
to this day.
Yeah.
But I would go to the bars with my buddy.
Yeah, you get a kick out of those guys, right?
West Point called me and 5 other Vietnam vets for an oral history interview a few years ago. So we went, and the lieutenant colonel asked, who wants to go first for the interview? Looking around, nobody. I'll go first. And where'd you grow up? Same questions.
Sure.
Where'd you go to high school? And why'd you join the Navy? Anyway, He said, he asked me, what was the funniest thing that happened to you on your way to Vietnam? I said, sir, I don't drink. I go to the bar, and here's my buddy from my squadron from Connecticut, Tony Minetti. And
who grew up not too far from you?
No.
Right?
And he was drunk as a skunk. He goes up to the biggest Marine, punches the Marine in the mouth, and the Marine starts laughing at him.
Which isn't a good sign.
No.
Right?
We ran, got Tony under the arm, and brought him back to the ship, took off his uniform, threw him in the shower, threw him in his rack.
Yeah.
Would you believe 2 years after that interview, I was trying to get a hold of Tony Minetti.
Yeah.
2 years after that, he called me. I hadn't seen him for 50 years. We got together.
And you're laughing like it was you were kids again, right?
Laughing and crying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and 5 of us, with our wives, went down to the villages and reunited again. And I'm still in touch with all of them.
And you probably kept them out of the brig by getting them out of there, right? Which
tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love them, all those guys, like brothers.
Yeah, but all those guys are coming and going from the Philippines, right?
Yes.
They're young guys.
Yes.
They know they're going to be in and around Vietnam.
Yes.
They're letting off a little steam, right? And
yeah.
it's, it's part of being young.
Part of it, yes.
Also, you know what that is like? The movie Biloxi Blues with Matthew Broderick.
Yes, yes.
Where he goes, something along those lines. I didn't really like some of those guys, but I think back now, I love every one of them,
yes.
and that's what we were young and,
yes.
And
I don't
you're
know
doing larger things,
I don't know if you ever heard or read the poem, Bury Me with Soldiers.
No.
I'm going to have to get you a copy.
Yeah.
It was written by a Catholic priest, a Monsignor, who is a member of my chapter of Vietnam vets. He was wounded in Vietnam too before he became a priest.
And he's local?
Yes.
We'll have to get him here and talk to him.
Oh, yes, you would love him. Just a great guy. He was in the 199th Light Infantry in Vietnam.
Wow.
And his platoon sergeant...
Yeah, anytime you hear infantry in Vietnam, it's...
Oh, not good. His platoon sergeant said, Fink, get in the back. He was a point man. Said, get in the back of the platoon. And he did. The platoon sergeant was shot and killed.
It saved his life.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And he
was wounded in that.
And where is he? He's with your group, the Suffolk County chapter of Vietnam Vets?
Yes.
So he's part of the Green Jackets.
Yes, he is.
And he goes around with you guys. I think you're going to... the Long Island State Veterans Home, right?
On Friday.
On Friday. We have Fred Skanga coming in after you to talk.
I love Fred.
And
he's doing such a great job up there. And Jonathan also.
Yeah, but you guys get to see each other.
Yes.
And you get to share these stories and that camaraderie.
Yes. It's a brotherhood.
It's a brotherhood. It really is. You
can't match anywhere.
Yeah. We had Mel Cohen here.
Love Mel.
We'll have Richie Kitson down the road. I'd like to get Clarence,
yes.
here, and but it's a great local group that continues to do, unbelievable work that's needed.
We have 513 members in Suffolk County alone in our chapter. How do I know that? I'm the membership guy.
Yeah, you're the guy with the numbers, So, but all right. So now you're in the Philippines. Yes. How long are you in the Philippines for?
Maybe a week.
What did you think of the Philippines? Long ways from College Point, right?
A little different, but the people were great, trying to survive.
Sure.
And they appreciated the bases being there because it supported their economy.
Yeah, they had a lot of workers on the bases.
Yes.
Height of the Cold War, even today, the Filipinos are now gravitating closer to the United States, right?
But what was great, we had a swim meet. All the ships that were in that time, I was a good swimmer.
Okay.
And I was on a swim team. And
did you swim off of College Point and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. I loved it.
And you did well in the sound and everything, right?
No problem.
Yeah. So you did well swimming in the Philippines?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, until I rubbed up against something that didn't feel right. It felt slimy.
Yeah.
So like in the cartoons, I swam for the shore. Once I hit the sand, I kept swimming.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was.
You didn't know
it could
what
have been
it
a
was.
shark or something.
They're taking a bite out of you, you know? So, You have like a little bit of a hard time maybe because you're in the smack dab middle of the Cold War.
Yeah.
You're a kid in the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
You're heading over to Vietnam.
Yep.
And all you want to do is swim competitively, and you don't know what the heck's in the water,
Yeah.
So,
but all good.
Oh, all good. So, all right, we're going to come back for another episode with Frank here. We have one of the main men of the Suffolk County chapter of Vietnam veterans, the Green Jackets, and we're going to talk about his time serving in the Navy during the Vietnam War and his efforts always to help out all veterans from all conflicts, from all time periods.